Most men break no contact the moment it starts working, not realizing that silence is their strongest weapon. This video will open your eyes to the psychology of attraction and how women truly respond when you stop chasing. Watch till the end, it will completely shift how you handle love, power, and confidence. Comment your location and hit subscribe to join the growth tribe. When a relationship ends or when communication stops, most men make the same mistake. They panic. They start overthinking every detail, wondering if she's already forgotten them, and the fear of losing her pushes them to act from desperation. They text too soon, they call too often, or they try to prove they've changed. But the truth is, the moment you start chasing validation, you lose your power. And that's what this stage, the no contact phase, is truly about reclaiming your emotional power through absence. You see, no contact isn't about playing games or manipulating her emotions. It's about recalibrating your own. It's about understanding that attraction doesn't live in constant communication. It lives in emotional polarity. When you pull back, you create space. Space for her to feel your absence, for her to miss your energy, and for you to rediscover the strength you gave away trying to keep her. A woman's attraction doesn't fade because you disappear. It fades when she senses you've lost control of yourself. When you act needy or reactive, it signals emotional instability. But when you hold your silence, it communicates something far more powerful: self-respect. Psychologically, absence triggers reflection. When she no longer has easy access to your attention, she begins to wonder what you're thinking, what you're doing, and more importantly, why you're not chasing. That curiosity creates emotional tension, and that's the foundation of renewed attraction. Women are deeply intuitive. They can sense energy shifts long before words are spoken. So when your energy moves from desperation to detachment, from anxiety to calm confidence, she feels it. That's when she starts questioning her assumptions about you. She begins to remember the man she was drawn to, the one who had presence, focus, and purpose. This process, however, isn't just about making her chase you again. It's about resetting the balance of emotional power. In every relationship, one person tends to give more emotional energy. When that energy is pulled back, the dynamic shifts. She begins to realize that the man who once needed her validation is now content within himself. And that shift, that quiet strength, is what reignites her respect. Respect always precedes attraction. If she doesn't respect you, she can't desire you. But when you command respect through emotional discipline, she starts to see you differently. The deeper truth is that no contact is less about her and more about you. It's a mirror that reveals how dependent you've become on her attention to feel significant. It forces you to sit with discomfort, to rebuild your sense of self without external reassurance. That silence that feels unbearable at first is the same silence that will rebuild your confidence. When you stop reaching out, you start reaching inward. You start asking better questions. Who am I without her? What have I neglected in myself? What kind of man do I want to become next? Those questions shift your focus from fear to growth. And here's what happens when you truly embrace this process: your energy changes. You stop reacting. You start responding. You move with calm intention rather than emotional urgency. She senses that change, not because you told her, but because your silence now carries a weight your words once couldn't. The man who begged for attention is gone. In his place stands a man who's found peace in his own presence. That's the kind of energy that makes a woman chase. Not because she's being manipulated, but because she's drawn back to something authentic. So if you're in no contact right now, remember this: your silence is not a void. It's a statement. It says, I know my worth. I don't need to chase what's unsure of me. And when you truly believe that, you stop losing power in relationships. You stop trying to prove your value because your value starts to speak for itself. The moment you stop needing her attention is the same moment she starts feeling your absence. That's the paradox of attraction. The less you try to hold on, the more magnetic you become. So hold your silence with confidence, not resentment. Because when a man learns to master his emotions, he no longer chases love, he commands it. Once you've reclaimed your emotional power, the next step is to understand the psychology of mystery. Because mystery is what reignites curiosity, and curiosity is what fuels attraction. You see, one of the biggest mistakes men make after no contact is trying to over-explain themselves when communication resumes. They want to clarify their silence, justify their absence, or prove they've changed. But the truth is, the moment you explain too much, you strip away the very thing that makes you compelling: uncertainty. Attraction isn't logical, it's emotional. And emotionally, curiosity is one of the most magnetic forces that exist between two people. When a woman doesn't fully know what's happening with you, when she can't predict your next move, her mind starts to wander. She starts filling in the gaps, imagining what you might be doing, who you might be seeing, and most importantly, why you've stopped chasing. That psychological tension pulls her attention back toward you, not because of what you've said, but because of what you've left unsaid. Mystery works because it shifts the emotional dynamic. When you were chasing her, she was in control. She decided when to reply, how much to reveal, and how to respond. But when you become unpredictable, when you pull back and let silence do the talking, she starts to wonder if she misjudged you. That wonder becomes emotional stimulation. And emotional stimulation is what women crave. It's not about confusing her, it's about awakening her curiosity again. Philosophically, mystery speaks to something deeper in human nature. Our fascination with what we can't fully possess. When something or someone becomes predictable, the mind disengages. The excitement fades because there's no more discovery left. But when a man carries himself with quiet confidence and emotional restraint, he becomes an ongoing mystery to solve. That doesn't mean you play games or act distant for the sake of ego. It means you learn the art of selective revelation. You show parts of yourself, but never all at once. You give glimpses, not paragraphs. You make her feel something without trying to define it immediately. In practical terms, this means living a life that naturally generates curiosity. When you're focused on your goals, when you're building something that gives your days meaning, your energy changes. You're no longer waiting for her attention. You're earning your own respect. That shift creates an aura of purpose that people can feel without you saying a word. And for a woman who once knew every detail about your life, seeing you evolve quietly and confidently becomes irresistible. She starts to question, what's gotten into him? That question is where attraction begins again. Women are naturally drawn to men who have depth, not just emotional depth, but depth of purpose, perspective, and self-control. When you become less accessible, your presence becomes more valuable. The less available you are to everyone, the more desirable you become to the right one. And that's not arrogance. That's self-respect. When a man truly values his time and energy, others learn to value it too. The mystery isn't about withholding affection. It's about embodying strength through restraint. It's the calm in your tone when she finally reaches out. It's the confidence in your words when you no longer feel the need to convince her. It's the composure you hold when she expects you to break, but you don't. Because real power doesn't scream, it whispers. And silence, when paired with purpose, becomes louder than any words you could ever say. So, the next time you're tempted to explain your absence, don't. Let your evolution speak for itself. Let your focus, your peace, and your renewed energy do the talking. Because mystery isn't about hiding, it's about allowing space for her to rediscover you, this time with new eyes. Remember this, curiosity is the seed of attraction, but discipline is the soil it grows in. If you can master both, you'll never need to chase. You'll simply live in a way that makes others want to understand you. And that's when she'll start to chase you, not because you demanded attention, but because your silence made her feel something words never could. When you reach the final stage, the stage of redefining the dynamic, this is where everything changes. It's no longer about waiting for her to notice you or trying to make her miss what you once had. It's about becoming the kind of man who commands attention without asking for it. The kind of man who radiates self-respect, quiet strength, and purpose so deeply that the world, and she takes notice without you saying a word. You see, the real secret to making her chase you after no contact isn't about tactics or timing, it's about transformation. Because when a woman sees that you've evolved, not out of revenge, but out of growth, she feels something powerful. She senses that you're no longer seeking validation from her. You've moved from needing love to embodying love. For yourself, for your purpose, for life itself. And that shift is magnetic. Psychologically, attraction is rooted in perception. When she first met you, she was drawn to your confidence, your direction, your energy. But somewhere along the line, that energy may have faded. Maybe you started over giving, maybe you lost focus, maybe you made her the center of your emotional world. And when that happens, attraction naturally declines. But when you use the no contact period not to wait, but to build, you start to reclaim what made you attractive in the first place. This rebuilding isn't just about external change, it's internal. It's waking up with purpose again. It's working out not because you want her to see it, but because you want to feel powerful in your own skin. It's setting new goals, creating discipline, investing in your mental peace. It's saying, I may have lost her, but I will not lose myself. That mindset is what separates the men who stay stuck from the men who evolve. And here's the beauty of it. When she eventually sees this version of you, calmer, stronger, more centered, it triggers something within her. She starts to remember the energy that once drew her in, but now it's amplified. Only this time she senses something different. You're no longer chasing her energy, you're leading with your own. That's the moment the dynamic reverses. That's when she starts to chase, not out of manipulation, but out of admiration. Because women are instinctively drawn to men who grow in silence, men who rebuild themselves without bitterness. Philosophically, this stage is about understanding that value doesn't come from external approval. It's generated from within. When you live a life that reflects self-respect, your presence becomes a reward, not a request. You stop needing to prove your worth because it's evident in how you move, how you speak, how you carry yourself. A man who lives with alignment, who is consistent in his purpose, his peace, his boundaries, automatically becomes the prize. But here's the catch. You can't fake this energy. You can't pretend to be detached while secretly waiting for her call. Real growth is quiet, not performative. It's when you no longer feel the urge to post to show you're doing fine because you actually are. It's when you stop watching her social media. Not because you're trying to prove strength, but because you're genuinely focused on your own life. It's when peace replaces anxiety. That's when the shift becomes permanent. And in that silence, something extraordinary happens. She starts to feel the void you once filled. Not because you're gone, because the version of you she knew no longer exists. You've evolved, and evolution is attractive. Women don't chase men who need them. They chase men who inspire them. So, if you want her to chase you, stop trying to control the outcome. Stop waiting for a text or a sign. Focus on becoming the kind of man who doesn't chase. Because everything worth having naturally moves toward him. Remember this. A woman may be drawn to your looks or your charm, but she'll stay captivated by your energy. And that energy only comes from a man who knows his worth, walks in purpose, and never loses himself in pursuit of someone else. When you reach that point, you won't need her to chase you because the right one will recognize your value without you saying a word. In the end, your silence won't just make her miss you. It will make her respect you. And respect is where real attraction begins.